Here comes Tim Sutton.
Oh, they got a fake punt. Snap it back to Thompson, and he runs a reverse. Coming right, Cedric Wilson, and he's going to lose yardage.
Oh, man. That was crazy.
It's like the complete opposite. The fake punt failing. Immediately, Washington scores a rushing touchdown. And then the game just gets out of hand in the fourth quarter to the point where you almost forget that for 3.5 quarters, it might not have been the best football in the league, but these teams were hanging in there with each other. And I just think good football teams find a way to finish, and the Cowboys did not on Thursday.
I swear, Jori, I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, what happened? I'm like, what is that? Did I just miss something? Was it like 4th and 2 or 4th and 1? What was the press contingent like at AT&T Stadium?
I probably shouldn't repeat some of the things that were heard in the press box, but it was a very colorful moment in the press box. I will give you that much. And even that continued in the post-game press conference when McCarthy was asked not once, not twice, but 3 times, was he really going to defend that as a solid play call? And John Fossil, who's always very candid with us and very thoughtful in his responses, he said, look, there have been other games that we've lost, and I've said, if only we tried that play. The coaching staff felt that they had the tendencies. Ron Rivera from Washington, in turn, will tell you that they expected something like this, and his guys were ready for it. And in that moment, it looked really clear that the Washington coaching staff had a better understanding of the game at that moment. I just want to see a coaching staff that is constantly improving their team every week, and that's not what we've seen in Dallas this year.
Do you think the Cowboys brass questions their hire?
They believe in Mike McCarthy and what he can do next year. They look back to his starting Green Bay and that it was rocky there too, but look, he got to a Super Bowl. But at some point, I think you have to consider, certainly Mike McCarthy was the coach of the team who went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. You have to give him credit. He also had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. And so I think you want to know, is it Mike McCarthy got this team to a Super Bowl, or Aaron Rodgers gets them to a Super Bowl and Mike McCarthy helps get this cast ready to do so? So there's a lot of questions going on, obviously uncertainty with Dak's future as well and the different pieces. But I think that if you're the Joneses, you want to see a coach that is making the most of 2020 so that when the talent is back at 2021, you know that that's what his coaching staff is going to bring each and every week.
Where would you assign most of the problem for why this team after 11 games is 3-8?
I would put the loss of Dak Prescott very high, but with Dak Prescott having an unbelievable season, throwing for over 450 yards in 3 straight games, they were still losing. And I think a lot of that goes on the coaches and on the ability to evaluate talent, particularly pro talent. The Cowboys have drafted really well in the time I've covered the team, dating back to 2016, the draft where they got Dak, Zeke, Jalen Smith, several players. And their hunger and talent is good, but when you look about what the guys they picked up in the offseason, from HaHa Clinton-Dix to Don Terry Poe to Daryl Worley, none of these guys are in the building anymore. And the ways that they're evaluating other talent, I think that they have significant gaps in what they need for their talent and voids. And
do you think that it is imperative that the Cowboys sign Dak Prescott to a long-term contract?
You could say, well, if he's injured and you're not able to test his health until this 4-month recovery period ends right around when the franchise tag deadline comes around, or not the deadline to negotiate, but the deadline to place the tag on him, you could say, well, why don't we just keep him around for 1 more year, see what he's got, see how healthy he is, and if he can replicate what he was doing in 2020 before he got hurt, and then go for it. But that's going to be really difficult to do from a salary cap standpoint, because Dak on a franchise tag would be $37.7 million against the cap on a year when COVID-19 affects revenue and brings it down. So you're really hurting your 2021 cap if you try that. I also just think that some of these things, you want to show your organization that you have a plan for the future and that you believe in them. And that's what Mike McCarthy keeps telling us he's doing by going for it on these crazy 4th downs. If you believe in your future, sign your franchise quarterback.
What do they have to say about this idea that maybe they should just go all in to lose the remaining 5 games so they can get the best draft pick available?
Cowboys owner Jerry Jones addressed this idea on Friday, and he said his definition of tank is playing players who can help you in the future rather than players who can help you win right now. And Jerry said, respectfully, the Cowboys don't have that decision to make because they have so many injuries. So the way Jerry looks at it is, one, it would be a net benefit to win the NFC East and make it to the playoff in terms of carrying the momentum over to next year. He thinks that's more valuable than getting a better draft pick. And two, he just doesn't think that the way you tank is even in question for the Cowboys right now.
And for all the questions, there's one statement we would be remiss not to mention. The loss of Marcus Paul, the team's strength and conditioning coach, beloved by everyone, is a bigger loss than any the Cowboys have suffered or will suffer the rest of this year.
And on Friday, we talked to Mike McCarthy and his coordinators who were discussing this scene of the trainer rushing in with the defibrillator. And these guys were there when it happened. So not only did they suffer a tremendous loss as an organization and were they feeling for the Paul family, but they witnessed this, which makes this just very, very difficult. Now they're really encouraging players to use the mental health resources available because this isn't something that changes overnight. And there's just so many reminders for these guys that Marcus isn't there anymore. And that's something they're going to have to continue working through together.